Welcome to the AFCA Alberta Fire Services Toolkit How-To webinar. This video will be a screen-by-screen and step-by-step guide to assist you in understanding and using the toolkit. First thing users need to do is go to abfirechiefs.ca and navigate down the page until you find the area to launch the tool. This will take you to a registration and sign-in page. If this is your first time using the tool, you will need to register an account. If you have already created your account, select Sign In. If you have forgotten your password, you can click the Forgot Password button to receive an email for a password reset. For the purposes of this video, let's create a new registration. Enter the email address you wish to use, typically an organizational email. Create a password. This password is unique to your account and not to be shared with other members of your organization. Enter in your name. Enter in the primary municipality your fire department functions in. In the event you are an out-of-province user, you can change the province. Select the position you currently hold within your organization. If it is not listed, select Other. Indicate if you are a current AFCA member. You can view the privacy policy by clicking the link and click to confirm that you agree. You can now register your account. This takes you to your user dashboard screen. As a new user, you will have a blank screen with a button allowing you to start a new report. If you are a returning user, you may see any previous reports you have completed. From this screen, you can review, edit, and delete those old reports. Let's proceed as a new user starting a new report. Please take a minute to read over this tool introduction and disclaimer page, and when ready, click Get Started. Here you will be entering a bit more information about the municipality or region your fire department is responsible providing service to. You can complete this tool from a holistic perspective, that is, the entire response area, or you can complete a survey for each specific region or department within your response area. We also ask that you indicate if you are completing this assessment from the perspective of current infrastructure and services, or looking forward at potential future infrastructure and services. Then indicate if your municipality is accredited, unaccredited, or if you are unsure of the accreditation status. This takes you to a Fire Apparatus Inventory page. You get to generate an inventory summary of all the apparatus in your service. Start by adding your unique apparatus identifier or fleet number. Then select an apparatus from the drop-down list, apply its age, pump and water tank capacity, as well as annual service test and CVIP or Commercial Vehicle Inspection Program requirements. Click Add Save. You will now see your apparatus inventory list start to build out below. Repeat this for all the apparatus in your department. If at any time you want to remove any equipment that may have been added incorrectly, click the red Delete button beside the apparatus you wish to delete. Once you have everything entered correctly, select Next. You will now be taken through a series of questions to help the tool further understand the characteristics of your department and your municipality. A few items to note. You will be able to navigate forward and backwards through the survey using the Next and Back buttons. You can see how far along you are in the survey at the bottom of the page, and if at any time you need support, click the Support button. Starting with department structure. This information is useful for conversations with elected officials and administration. There are budget and response implications for full-time, composite, and volunteer setups. Knowing what these implications are better explains demands on the department and impacts to your level of service. There is a description of each type of structure to help you select the option that best represents your response area. When you've completed your answer, click Next. Next, indicate the number of stations your department has. Now we want to quantify how many staff you have. This is the biggest impact to your occupational health and safety requirements. When you have 20 or more members, whether they are volunteer, paid on call, or full-time, legislation requires a formal OH&S program, of which there are 10 elements. With fewer workers, there are fewer requirements. Legislative changes occur at these key numbers: 1 person, 5 people, and 20 people. To add up your members, include all response personnel, administration, management, and support staff. This means firefighters, administrative assistants, training officers, deputy chiefs, etc. It is based on the entire department, not per hall or per call. At the heart of a fire department level of service is the population they serve. The public has a general expectation of the fire department, and this is the basis for the core competency tool. However, as population grows, the service level expectations and services offered generally increase as well. This tool was initially developed for use by fire departments in municipalities with populations of under 20,000 people. As you can see in the descriptor, the majority of Alberta communities fall into this category. Now we're going to look at the demographics of your response area, starting with your mutual demand zone. You may have only one, or you may have all of them. If you're unsure what demand zone your municipality has, one method is to look it up on the web, or you may talk with your municipal planners and assessors. The MDZ you choose will help identify ideal target response levels based on standards set out by the National Fire Protection Association. These targets aren't mandated. However, comparing your response times to these standards can start a valuable discussion with municipal and fire department leaders as to what is supporting and what is creating barriers in achieving these NFPA targets. You may use these targets to help build out recruitment and retention strategies, public education campaigns to manage and shape public perception, and for future priority-based budgeting. Now we begin to look at the types of hazards in your unique region, the first being forested areas. Consider if forest areas are a risk to your region. If it causes frequent or consistent response needs of your department, a mutual aid partner, or provincial wildfire crews. Grassland firefighting is another unique hazard and different than forestry firefighting. Moving on to water-based hazards, we start with man-made bodies of water. Read the description and assess if you have man-made bodies of water that generate risk in your municipality. You can choose multiple answers on this question. Next is natural bodies of water. Although natural lakes and rivers fall under federal jurisdiction, your fire department may have determined this is a hazard you will provide service to. Choose all that apply. Next is rail. Do you have rail hazards in your area? Next is highways. Motor vehicle collisions can make up a large part of fire department responses. Indicate if you have high-risk roads or intersections in your response area. Each utility and infrastructure item listed here will drive unique hazard conditions that a fire department may need to plan and prepare for. This is where the fire department gets a public reputation of jack of all trades when it comes to emergency response. When no one knows what else to do, they will often call the fire department. This drives the necessity to do a full community hazard assessment. Choose all that apply. Special occupancies look at occupancies that may cause a unique and challenging response for your service. These type of occupancies may place extra strain on responders due to the high number or high needs of the occupants, potentially in their inability to evacuate themselves in an emergency. Another hazard in some communities are large event facilities. These facilities pose unique challenges, especially with the large crowds they draw. Examples of large event facilities in Alberta may be the Big Valley Jamboree, Castro Raceway, rodeo grounds, and so on. These hazards may be temporary or intermittent, but can still pose a risk to your municipality. Pools and arenas not only draw larger crowds as community gathering places, but they also store and use hazardous chemicals. Staff in rec centers are trained to manage these risks only to a point, at which time their emergency response plan will likely activate the fire department. Although many airports may have their own emergency response plans, they often require support from municipal fire services. Aircraft emergencies can happen anywhere. However, the highest probability is at or in close proximity to airports. As a fire department, you likely will not have full airport rescue firefighting resources, but you do need to determine how you will address and respond to this potential hazard if it exists in your area. Choose all airport types that exist in your response area. Here's where we look at large commercial buildings that are in many communities. Big box stores such as Walmart, Home Depot, and other large footprint buildings are becoming commonplace and offer a unique hazard to firefighters in search and rescue, evacuations, and finding the seat of fires. Next, we look at industrial infrastructure in your area, and we have divided it into light and heavy industry categories. Details to help you determine the difference is included on the screen. If unsure, you may want to speak with your municipal planners to get clarity on how specific industry is zoned in your region. Heavy industry may have internal emergency response resources to manage incidents on their site, but may have need of mutual aid. Outside of light and heavy industry, you'll find manufacturing. Each manufacturing category brings its own unique risks for a fire department to take into consideration when planning potential emergency response. Choose all that apply or select non-applicable. Agriculture includes farmland and livestock. Heavy trucks and dangerous equipment, crop chemicals, stubble fires are just some of the hazards that may require a response. Livestock rescue is another service some departments have to consider. The next few questions look at collaborative relationships your fire department may or may not have. Here we look at your neighboring communities. The closer a large community is to your region, the potential for effective mutual aid increases. Once a large community is further than 20 kilometers away, that effectiveness decreases. Next, we look at formal mutual aid agreements. It is likely your department has agreements in place to address certain hazards, or possibly assist in the response to others. It is important to identify where these relationships exist and how all hazards are being addressed. Here we capture an overview of what agreements you have in place. Select all that apply or choose not applicable. You have now completed your community risk assessment questions. On this page is a summary of the responses to each item, starting with a summary of your fire apparatus and continuing down the page. You can review your answers, and you have the ability to go back and change an answer by selecting Change Answer. You will have the ability to print a summary of this report on a later page. When you are satisfied with your answers, click Confirm and Continue. Welcome to the Considerations for Levels of Service and Organizational Systems screen. Based on the answers you provided about your response area, the tool has created a list of fire services and organizational systems for your consideration. These are grouped into 3 areas. First are organizational systems. Items in here are not part of fire response, but are organizational considerations around employee onboarding, occupational health and safety, etc. Within the core services box is a list of firefighting services that most Alberta fire departments offer. If an item shows up with a green check mark, that means that the tool suggests your department consider this service. If it shows up as a red X, that means the tool is not suggesting their service at this time. However, as a key decision maker in your organization, you may choose to opt in or out of any service or system by toggling between the green check mark and the red X. Any decisions to offer any of these services to your municipality should be based on assessing the value it adds to your community versus the demands of offering that service places on your resources. You may notice that some items have a C symbol and you cannot toggle them. This is because the toolkit has determined these to be compulsory items due to legislative requirements and industry best practices linked to NFPA. Depending on if you are completing this tool looking at your current state or looking into future planning, you may select services that you don't currently offer, but are considering offering in the future. Further down the page, you will find extended services. This is an extensive list of firefighting services and skills that you may want to consider. At this point, the toolkit is displaying all of these services as red X's and no competencies are attached as they are outside of the core services fire departments offer. By toggling the red X to a green check mark, you can still turn on any of these items to capture if your department is offering or plans to offer any of these services based on the unique circumstances in your municipality. Once again, you will have the opportunity to print this information on a later page. When you are satisfied with your selection, click Confirm Service Selections. The next page is the final page. The first thing you will see is 3 print buttons. These buttons allow you to print the 3 different reports for your records. The first is a summary of your Community Risk Profile report. The second is a summary of your chosen levels of service and systems. And the third is a large report summarizing the competencies for all your chosen core services. You may want to utilize these reports for conversations with council and administration about how the risk profile of your community aligns with your levels of service, or you may include this information in public relations messaging. The information contained on the competency report can be integrated into your internal training program. Looking at the rest of the page, you will notice your customized level of service report and collapsible list of competencies attached to each service. These lists contain the core and extended services you indicated your service is offering or is considering offering to your community. Each core service has included in it required competencies that firefighters would require to make them proficient in responding to that type of incident. When you click on the plus icon, the list drops down and you can view all the competencies for that system or service. Each competency has a unique code, which in this case stands for Alberta Fire Service Core Competency, Firefighter, the system or service involved, in this case general firefighting, and a Q reference number. Each competency then outlines the skill and competency requirements. A reference supporting the skill and competency is provided for every competency so that anyone can look up further information and understand the rationale behind each competency. Additional resources will be provided as the tool grows. This is where you may find links to training resources, assessment tools, videos, SOPs or SOGs, and other valuable information that helps the department ensure effective, efficient, and consistent training. Another item worth noting is that when deciding what competencies you want to print, you can toggle the green check marks at the top to remove any services from the print page. To bring them back, simply click again. This completes our how-to webinar of the AFCA Alberta Fire Services Toolkit. Thank you for watching, and if you have any further questions, you can contact us at afca@tsi-inc.ca.